Welcome back. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. This is a video of Fox News making an assessment of Kamala Harris's CNN town hall. And I like to watch two sides, okay, the CNNs of the world and the MSNBCs and Fox News to see how they talk about the political candidates that they do not exactly favor. I've noticed a disparity, and I want to see what they have to say about the town hall. Let's have a listen and give our reaction to the video.
Now, Vice President Kamala Harris struggled to defend her border record
Which is
at
true.
a CNN town hall. Watch.
2022, 2023, there were record border crossings. Your administration took hundreds of executive actions. It didn't stem the flow. Numbers kept going up. Finally, in 2024, just in June, 3 weeks before the first presidential debate with Joe Biden, you institute executive actions that had a dramatic impact, really shut down people crossing over. Why didn't your administration do that in 2022, 2023?
That's a fair question.
First of all, you're exactly right, Anderson. And as of today, we have cut the flow of immigration by over half. In fact, the numbers I saw most recently, illegal immigration is low.
But if easy with that executive action, why not do it in 2022, 2023?
Because we were working with Congress and hoping that actually we could have a long-term fix to the problem.
You guys didn't need to work with Congress to open up the border
at the same time.
Well, here's the thing. We have to understand that ultimately this problem is going to be fixed through congressional action. Congress has the authority and the purse.
Do you wish you'd done those executive orders in 2022, 2023?
I think we did the right thing.
Now, she was then asked about the border wall. Watch.
Let's talk about this compromise bill that you want to pass if you're elected. You said that's going to be a priority. It includes $650 million in funding for the border wall. That's something Republicans wanted. That was part of the compromise. Under Donald Trump, you criticized the wall more than 50 times. You called it stupid, useless, and a medieval vanity project.
Your face.
Is a border wall stupid?
Well, let's talk about Donald Trump and that border wall. So remember,
It's very clear that Kamala Harris's tell, okay, she has a tell. Now the whole world knows her tell. That awkward laugh that she gives when she's trying to answer a question that she has no clue how to answer. You know, I think that's a tell. Every time she's asked a question that is basically something that incriminates her or puts her in a bad light, she starts out with this awkward laugh, and then she's like trying to, it's a tell.
Donald Trump said Mexico would pay for it. Come on, they didn't.
But you're agreeing to a bill that would...
I remember the Democrat delegates to the House and Congress creating a difficult circumstances for Donald Trump to do anything about the border. They kept stonewalling him and tying his hands behind his back. There are reports of people in his cabinet, not those he chose, but people who, he did choose them, people from the military who told him that stuff he couldn't do, but those were clearly things that he had the right to do as president. I mean, these were things that were reported after the fact. Of course, he fired some of them, but at every step of the way, they put up roadblocks in front of Donald Trump and kept him from doing what he said he was going to do. So her laughing and saying, he didn't do it, he didn't put up the wall. She was one of the people who opposed him in Congress and made sure he was ineffective in completing the wall before his term ran out.
Would earmark $650 million to continue building that wall.
I pledge that I am going to bring forward that bipartisan bill to further strengthen and secure our border.
To fix the problem, you're doing this compromise bill. It does call for $650 million that was earmarked under Trump to actually still go to build the wall.
I am not afraid of good ideas where they occurred.
It was
you don't
earmarked
think it's stupid
by Trump already.
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense because he actually didn't do much of anything.
Because
you do want to build some
back.
wall.
Kevin, there's a lot there. What's your take?
She missed the opportunity yet again. This thing is killing her, this border wall thing. What she should have come out and said, and she had that opportunity on Fox with Brett, is say, look, in the early days of our administration, we allowed a lot of people into the country that we didn't know much about. I own it. I take responsibility for it, and I've learned a lot from it. And for that mother who lost a daughter, I feel your pain, and I believe that it has motivated me beyond anything in my life to make sure this never happens again. But no, she doesn't do that. It's more of this verbal salad. She won't take responsibility. And when I have this discussion with her advocates and her proxies, even they admit behind closed doors, I don't feel any compassion on this issue from her. It's a huge mistake. Now, if I were advising her right now, I'd say, listen, stop with this. Own it. Show you care. Tell people it's hurt you. It'll never happen again. You were the border czar, yes or no, or the whatever you want to call it, and you failed on that mandate, but you know exactly what you did wrong. You're going to fix it. Can you imagine if she did that, how this would help her at this point? People could connect with her.
So let's notice how they're running commentary on the candidate that isn't even their own candidate. All right, they're making suggestions. They're saying, "Hey, this is what she could have done," but she's tying her own hands and she's doing this. Look at how they talk about Kamala's options. And then maybe you can go back to the video that I published on the interview at CNN between Charlemagne the God and Anderson Cooper, and see the way they talk about the candidate they don't like. They basically cannot say a good thing or make positive suggestions about their own, about a candidate that is on the other side. So that's the difference between left-leaning outlets and conservative outlets. All right.
There's no connection. There's no authenticity. I'm very critical of this particular issue for her. I really feel she just won't take responsibility, and it's killing her.
That criticism so well-founded and equally launched as well, Kayleigh, toward President Biden, right? It's sort of, we've heard that same, it's not a gripe, it's a very accurate notation of the lack of empathy, the lack of human quality. I can't figure out, Kayleigh, what I'm more shocked and disheartened by with Kamala. Is it the fact that she's so woefully inadequate with her policies, with understanding, or that she's so woefully unprepared, seemingly, for any question, for any scenario, when she's been the one our tax dollars have been paying as vice president for the last 3.5 years? I am shocked at how little she seems to know, how little experience she clearly draws from, how absolutely ineffective she has been these last days and years.
Absolutely, Emily. I mean, that's what I was thinking this morning, you know, as I watched this last night and watched more of it this morning. You know, she took off Tuesday, and people say, oh, no, she did the Telemundo interview. She did Hallie Jackson. Yeah, but she took off the campaign trail. She stayed in D.C. Yesterday, we heard a 2-minute statement from her from the Naval Observatory. And then she does this town hall, but she's off the campaign trail. You have had 48 hours to prepare for this town hall, and this is what we get. To say that you were right to wait 3 years to invoke executive power. You know, I love to say it, Emily, 212F. You knew it. 212F. You waited 3 years and you were right to do that. Okay, well, if you were right, then you mean you were right to let in 11 million people. You were right to let in the killers of Lake and Riley, Jocelyn Ngari, and Rachel Morin. I know you didn't want that to happen. I know you expressed empathy for those individuals. But saying you were right is saying you were right to let in those killers. And you're saying you were right to let in the Venezuelan gangs that, yes, have taken over a handful of apartment buildings that, according to Martha Raddatz, we all need to accept because those are just the plebeians out in Aurora. And we're living in our swanky D.C. apartments, or I guess in her case, the Naval Observatory. It's so out of touch. Kevin is spot on. And Donald Trump, it's interesting when you hear him say, yes, I know the economy is the #1 issue. Borders #2. But Trump has said he thinks immigration is going to determine this election. And that guy's gut, you know, it's telling him something.
Harris, we heard her say, you know, which I also found, again, look, I guess I'm never surprised anymore, frankly, by that, again, lack of experience and the fact that she fails to draw on an experience you would expect given her titles. But the fact that she talks about congressional action now, when they owned all 3 branches.
So I hope you're following the conversation. I don't hear anyone insulting her laugh. I don't hear anyone talking about the way she climbed up the ladder of influence from California, even up to her appointment as a vice presidential candidate in 2020. I don't hear any of those personal attacks in this interview. And I mean, let me know if I'm wrong, if Fox News has done that. Maybe they've done that at some point. But I mean, these are interviews that directly follow, a town hall that she held, and they are staying on the issues. And that's one of the things that I noticed about the way conservative outlets tend to act in these matters. Left-leaning outlets would, by now, it would have been a slur fest of personal attacks and things that have no basis. They are working off of footage and reports.
The fact that she says that's what we need to do. What about enforce all the laws that were in place when you assumed office?
Yeah.
What about not undoing everything? Like it's sort of a weird amnesia as the rest of us Americans have watched the effects. Our city's been totally destroyed. Families lost their loved ones at the hands of dismantling the policies that worked, refusing to enforce what was existing, and then now blaming Congress years later when it was all within your reach, all within your hands. And by the way, remember, she campaigned on fixing the border years ago.
Well, bicameral leadership.
Here we go.
For one party has gotten us nowhere in many cases. So it's not that she can't remember. They couldn't do anything even with that. They're not organized enough to on this issue. And Kevin, what you're asking almost at this point would look like a lie coming from her. Like, I can't figure which emotional flex she's really dedicated to. I thought we were going to see joy. She is the vice president who potentially on camera at least has laughed more than anybody we've seen in the history of the country.
She mentioned that.
I legitimately thought the answer back from the RNC love fest and joy that we saw on the floor of the convention after the first assassination attempt of the eventual presidential nominee that night, the eventual and effective answer back was the joy. I know a lot of people made fun of it, but there was a lot of joy at the RNC. So I thought, the DNC, okay, so she's going to go with this. That's not what we get, though. We don't get that authenticity of the moment. Like, if she's really feeling what I know you feel it. When it's palpable sitting next to you, when you describe what you want her to do because you feel it. I don't know that she's capable of doing what you're asking her to do. And if she tries and she fails, it looks like a lie, which hurts her even more.
Yeah. I actually have some admiration for her lack of a willingness to speak specifically about the issue, but it's a lie by omission. I don't think, because it would come off as a lie if she takes your approach, Kevin. It's because it's not true. So she can't go there. But I will remind everyone, I just want to scoot this in. In the 2020 election, what's happening at the border was never discussed. It was never an idea. It was never a plan. It was never announced. It was the ghost. And what was the first thing he did? On the first day, started with all of those, over 100 executive orders? And it was about the border, opening the border, moving them in, refugees, amnesty, flights in, buses in. That's what happened after that election, and it was never discussed beforehand. That's why what is not discussed matters. You got to look at their actions.
That's right.
Exactly.
And what is discussed right here on this couch will be awesome all hour.
So it's important what the last speaker said, which is amazing. It's not about what they say, it's about what they do. The Democrats and left-leaning people are all about speech. What you say, hate speech is more dangerous than war. They want you to believe that is the case so that they can attack people on what they said 20 years ago and not what they've done for 40 years leading up to that point in time. Donald Trump was in office for 4 years. No new wars. Economy was great. He didn't put his political opponents in jail. Didn't prosecute or persecute any of them. For 4 years of the Harris-Biden or Biden-Harris administration, we've seen the opposite of all of that. So the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and the world has eaten this pudding and it is stale. Well, what do you think of my reaction to this video? Let me know in the comment section below. And YouTube thinks that this video up here will be fantastic for you to watch.